while you were scrolling through Instagram. A single family in Asia quietly controlled over $450 billion in assets, more than the GDP of entire nations. You've never seen their faces on Forbes covers. You've never heard their names in the headlines. But every time you check your phone, wear designer fashion, or even fuel your car, they profit. Their empire stretches across technology, real estate, energy, fashion, and finance, operating in the shadows of the world's most visible billionaires. And while names like Musk, Bezos, and Gates dominate Western media, this dynasty is silently building power that makes them richer than the top 10 American billionaires combined. But here's the secret no one talks about. They don't just own businesses. They own systems. Their reach shapes entire industries, political movements, and luxury markets across half of Asia. And yet, barely anyone in the West has even heard their name. The truth behind this empire will shock you. Because tonight, you'll discover the origin story no one knows: how a single decision turned obscurity into global dominance. How they influence your daily life without you ever realizing it. And the shocking future move that could shift the global balance of power forever. This isn't just a story about wealth. It's a story about control. Let me show you exactly how this happened. They're called the Lien Group, a name that never appears on Fortune 500 lists, yet sits behind them all. Born in the ashes of post-war Asia, the Lien family began not with wealth, but with vision. Their patriarch, Zhao Lian, started as a textile trader in 1958 in Hong Kong. But unlike others chasing short-term profits, Zhao studied patterns, not in fabric, but in people, politics, and power. He understood something few others did. Control the infrastructure, and you control the future. Within decades, his family expanded from textiles to shipping, energy, and technology. By the 1980s, their subsidiaries quietly powered parts of Hong Kong's ports, Japan's automotive industry, and even early microchip supply chains. Today, the Lien dynasty's empire operates through more than 140 shell corporations registered across Singapore, Dubai, and the British Virgin Islands. Their holdings span luxury real estate from Tokyo to Paris. Technology firms partnered with U.S. giants like Apple and Nvidia. Media networks subtly shaping narratives in China, Korea, and Indonesia. And a private banking arm managing assets exceeding $450 billion US. But here's the twist: they almost never appear publicly. The current head, Elena Zhao Lian, hasn't been photographed in nearly 12 years. Her brother, Victor Lian, controls their real estate empire from a private island near Singapore, accessible only by air. To most people, the Lien Group doesn't exist. Yet their logos hide in plain sight under luxury hotels you've stayed in, brands you've bought, and technologies you use every day. Every year, they invest hundreds of millions into U.S. startups, fashion houses, and energy companies. So whether you're drinking designer coffee in Los Angeles or scrolling through luxury car reels in Miami, you're brushing against the influence of the Lien dynasty without ever knowing it. And this is where things get really interesting. Because once you see what they actually own, you'll realize they're closer to your life than you ever imagined. Here's where the story takes its first unbelievable turn. While Western media obsesses over Tesla and Apple, the Lien Group quietly owns or finances over 28% of Asia's luxury hospitality sector, from five-star hotels to private island retreats. Every time a Hollywood celebrity posts a photo from a secret resort in Bali or Phuket, chances are the Liens profit from it. And it doesn't stop there. They also hold controlling stakes in Orientech, the Southeast Asian semiconductor powerhouse that supplies components to Samsung, Sony, and even Apple. That means every time you buy a new iPhone, a fraction of that money finds its way into Lien accounts. It's not just business, it's the architecture of wealth. Every deal, every partnership, every logo you see is a brick in their invisible empire. Take a closer look at some of the world's most recognizable names. Imperium Hotels International, a luxury chain spanning Singapore, Hong Kong, and Dubai. Zenith Automotive, a high-end electric car manufacturer, with technology licensed to European brands. Satori Investments, a private equity firm with silent stakes in luxury fashion labels, including one that recently dressed the Met Gala's biggest stars. Helix Digital Holdings, a media tech company with contracts in over 15 countries, quietly shaping online advertising algorithms. Each of these companies has its own CEO, brand identity, and headquarters. But behind the paperwork, they all answer to the Lian dynasty. You've probably used their technology, streamed their content, or even stayed in their hotels without realizing it. Imagine this. You're sipping champagne in a sky suite overlooking Tokyo. The crystal glass? Sourced by a Lian subsidiary. The luxury hotel? Managed by another. The car that brought you there? Financed by their banking arm. It's a loop of invisible wealth where every transaction, from a $3 coffee to a $3 million penthouse, feeds their empire. And yet, their names never appear on the ownership charts. According to business registries, most Lian-linked firms are layered through 7 or more shell companies, often disguised under generic holdings like Pacific Star Ventures Limited or Echelon Global Partners. Their fingerprints are everywhere, but their names? Nowhere. It's like a spider's web perfectly designed, almost impossible to trace. But if you think owning hotels, tech firms, and luxury fashion is impressive, wait until you see how they control entire industries without ever appearing in them. This is where the story gets even crazier. Power, by itself, is nothing. But the Lian dynasty didn't just chase wealth, they engineered an entire system designed to multiply it invisibly. Their strategy began with something almost no one noticed. They built bridges between power, connecting governments, corporations, and media under one silent network. In the 1990s, when Asia's tech revolution exploded, the Lians weren't building gadgets, they were financing infrastructure. Fiber optic cables, energy grids, and early-stage chip manufacturing, every critical backbone the digital age depended on. While others made headlines for selling products, the Lians were collecting dividends from the entire ecosystem. Their philosophy was simple: control the foundation, and you control everyone who stands on it. By 2003, their holding company Eastcore Capital had quietly purchased strategic shares in over 60 financial institutions across Asia, Europe, and even the United States. Through cross-shareholding and family trusts, they could move billions without public disclosure. According to financial analysts in Singapore, the Lians don't own companies, they own the corridors those companies travel through. The key to their empire lies in partnerships that seem ordinary but are anything but. Their energy subsidiary, Solara Industries, supplies lithium and renewable materials to both Asian and American EV producers. Their logistics arm, Lian Maritime, coordinates global shipping routes, controlling the movement of goods worth hundreds of billions annually. So when trade wars, sanctions, or supply shortages hit, the Lians aren't victims, they're brokers. They profit from chaos, and in some cases, they create it. And here's where the contrast hits hardest. Then versus now. From one textile trader to a family running an empire that fuels the digital, luxury, and energy worlds. Publicly, they appear as conservative philanthropists, funding museums, scholarships, and green tech summits. Privately, insiders report that the family's inner circle operates from a data-secured compound in Singapore called the Mirror. It's said to house their global operations hub, a facility so secret that no public photographs exist. Industry insiders suggest the Mirror isn't just an office, it's a nerve center connecting financial algorithms, AI trading bots, and media influence strategies across 3 continents. In other words, while you're watching stock prices fluctuate, their system is quietly deciding which way they move. They don't need publicity. They need precision. Their fingerprints guide markets, policies, and luxury trends, all through proxy firms and offshore accounts. Western fashion brands? They fund them. Asian streaming platforms? They own parts of them. Global data centers? They helped build them. But all this control leads to a question: why now? Why is their influence suddenly surfacing after decades of secrecy? Because recently, the Lians made a move that changes everything, a shift from passive empire builders to active global power brokers. A move so bold it could reshape the financial balance between East and West. And that's our next revelation. For decades, the Lian dynasty mastered invisibility. They moved in silence, profited in shadows, and built an empire no one could trace. But all that changed in 2024. That's when Elena Zhao, the reclusive heiress and current head of the family, made a decision that would mark a global turning point. Without a press release, without public attention, the Lien Group acquired controlling interest in Helios Data Systems, a cloud computing company providing AI infrastructure to over 40 governments and 200 Fortune 500 companies. Overnight, this gave the Liens access to data pipelines, the digital arteries of modern civilization. Energy grids, banking systems, online transactions, transportation logistics, all now indirectly dependent on a network that they control. Think about it. When you transfer money, book a flight, or stream a movie, it passes through servers they own. That's not wealth. That's power. According to leaked financial reports from Singapore's Economic Authority, the acquisition was disguised as a multi-layered merger involving 10 shell corporations across Luxembourg, Malaysia, and Dubai. Publicly, it looked like routine consolidation. Privately, it was a strategic takeover, one that analysts call the digital coup of the decade. And here's where it all connects. Their energy holdings fuel the world's tech infrastructure. Their shipping network moves the physical hardware. Their media companies shape the stories you hear about innovation. Their data empire now monitors the information those stories depend on. In short, the Liens built a closed ecosystem where every dollar, byte, and headline touches their influence before reaching the public. This isn't just about wealth anymore. It's about the architecture of control. And what comes next is even bolder. According to insiders at Eastcore Capital, Elena Lien's long-term plan, codenamed Project Horizon, aims to create the first AI-driven private wealth network, capable of predicting and manipulating market trends in real time. Some experts say it could make the Liens the most powerful private financial entity in human history, outpacing even the largest sovereign funds. If they succeed, they won't just control half of Asia's wealth. They'll shape how global wealth itself moves. This isn't fiction. This is the quiet reality of power in the 21st century, where influence isn't loud, it's coded. And yet, there's one question that haunts economists and policymakers alike. What happens when a family like this stops hiding? Because if their next move unfolds the way analysts predict, the Lien dynasty won't just be the richest family in Asia. They'll be the most powerful private dynasty on Earth. And that brings us to the part no one's prepared for. What this means for the rest of us. When the Lien dynasty expanded into the digital world, they didn't just rewrite the rules of wealth. They redefined the nature of ownership itself. In the old world, power came from land, oil, or manufacturing. But the Liens realized something most billionaires missed. Data is the new oil, and whoever owns it doesn't just profit. They predict. With the Helios acquisition, their algorithms began analyzing trillions of market signals every second, detecting patterns long before human traders could react. Within months, their private equity arm, Lien Global Capital, posted record-breaking returns, numbers so high that major funds quietly started modeling their own systems after them. By 2025, over 22% of global digital trade traffic flowed through networks tied to their infrastructure. That means when a stock moves in Hong Kong or crypto trends in the US, the data passes through servers owned or influenced by the Liens. To most, that's invisible. To them, it's an opportunity. But the true impact of their empire isn't limited to markets. It reaches into culture. Every major luxury fashion brand in Asia, from couture houses to jewelry empires, now operates on e-commerce and digital supply chains managed by Lien tech subsidiaries. So when the ultra-rich shop, they're unknowingly feeding the family's network even more data. Power disguised as service. Control disguised as convenience. And as their footprint expanded, whispers began to surface. Some former executives allege that Project Horizon's AI isn't just analyzing markets, it's influencing them. By identifying viral trends, political moments, and even social unrest patterns before they happen, the system could theoretically trigger financial responses that steer economies in their favor. Imagine predicting panic before it starts and then selling stability to the world. That's how dynasties outlive empires. Global governments are aware. But here's the truth, they can't stop it. Why? Because they depend on the same technology. Even the US Treasury relies on Asian data processing hubs, some of which route through Lien-owned infrastructures. The line between private enterprise and geopolitical leverage has never been thinner. This is what 21st century royalty looks like. Not crowns and castles, but cloud servers and silent equity. They don't rule nations. They rule networks. And that's what makes them untouchable. While traditional billionaires flaunt their yachts and mansions, the Liens prefer anonymity, their assets buried in shell companies, their faces unseen, their influence measured not in Forbes rankings, but in how dependent the world has become on their systems. Luxury has always followed money. But in this new age, money follows code. And those who write the code write the future. The Liens aren't chasing wealth anymore. They're engineering it. Their empire represents something far larger than fortune. It's a warning that in the world of tomorrow, the most powerful dynasty won't be the one you see on magazine covers. It'll be the one you never hear about at all. And now, the final secret. For decades, this dynasty has operated in the shadows, influencing trade, technology, and even geopolitics. But what they're doing next will redefine how the world understands power. According to insider reports, the family is preparing a multi-generational shift, passing leadership to a younger heir educated in both Silicon Valley and Singapore. This next generation isn't just about preserving wealth. It's about transforming it. They're moving aggressively into AI, green energy, and digital finance, quietly buying up tech startups across Asia and beyond. Their goal? To digitally control the future of luxury and wealth, creating an invisible financial ecosystem that touches every corner of the modern economy, from your phone's payment app to the luxury watch you wear. And here's the most shocking part. They're no longer content with staying hidden. The younger heirs have begun appearing at global innovation summits, investing in Western markets, and influencing policy through philanthropic fronts. The dynasty is evolving from a family empire rooted in secrecy to a global powerhouse shaping the future of wealth itself. It all connects now. Their centuries-old family alliances, their strategic control of trade routes, their quiet acquisitions of global brands. It wasn't random. It was a master plan, a vision to build an empire that transcends borders, generations, and even governments. So when you scroll through your feed and see the next big luxury trend, the next global brand, or the next tech revolution, remember this. Somewhere behind it all, this dynasty still moves the pieces quietly, elegantly, and powerfully. And what they're planning next might just make them the first trillion-dollar family the world has ever seen. The story began with secrecy, but the next chapter? It's about domination, and it's already begun. So let's take a moment to recap everything we've uncovered about this extraordinary family. They didn't just inherit their power, they engineered it. From a small trading firm decades ago, they expanded methodically into banking, energy, and luxury, building one of the most complex financial empires in the world. Their reach extends into your everyday life. The smartphone in your hand, the luxury brand you adore, even the international hotel you dream of staying in, they all feed into the dynasty's vast network of ownership and influence. The family is now preparing for their boldest transformation yet, merging ancient wealth with futuristic industries like AI, digital banking, and global sustainability. What began as a legacy built on tradition is evolving into a tech-driven empire ready to shape the next century. And when you connect these threads, you realize this wasn't luck or coincidence. It's a masterclass in long-term power. They played a game most billionaires don't even understand, one that spans generations, not fiscal quarters. Their strategy shows how quiet dominance often beats loud ambition. Now here's the truth that matters to you. You might not be born into a dynasty like this. But what you can learn is how they think long-term, strategically, and with vision. Every major move they've made started with one thing, a mindset of legacy, not luxury. If you want to build wealth that lasts, start thinking like them. Invest in value, not trends. Build relationships, not shortcuts. And above all, remember that real wealth isn't about showing off, it's about control and continuity. Because while most people chase quick success, dynasties like this build systems that keep generating wealth long after they're gone. Before you go, there's one last thought. If this story opened your eyes to how hidden power truly works, you're going to want to see what comes next. Because this dynasty isn't the only one. So before you scroll away, hit that subscribe button, turn on notifications, and join me as we explore the secret world of wealth, luxury, and legacy. Drop a like if this story shocked you, and let me know in the comments. Backhand index pointing right. Which part of this dynasty's power amazed you the most? Backhand index pointing right. Did you recognize any of the brands or companies they secretly control? Because in this channel, we don't just watch stories of wealth. We learn from them. This is more than money. It's about influence, vision, and legacy. And the story has only just begun.